Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back for another video. Today I want to look at a few charts, but one in particular that I saw yesterday, and it's fascinating to me. And it highlights the uniqueness of this time, this cycle in comparison to other cycles. And I'll get into that in a second. I just want to talk real quick about what's going on right now. You know, we're seeing a little bit of a sell-off, a little bit of what I think is happening is people de-risking before the Fed meeting. And if things pop or dump after the Fed meeting, they'll act accordingly. And so not surprised to see Bitcoin just struggling at $46,860 or, around 47,000. But yeah, all eyes are on the Fed meeting today. But I do want to share this one chart because it's just fascinating to me. And it may, on the screen, it may look kind of a little, what's the word, just too much information overload at first glance. But I saw this yesterday and I was like, that's amazing. It's fascinating. And so what am I looking at here? The green line is typically, we're just going to call them smart money. That's what the chart calls them. Smart money, the long-term holders. And the red line is dumb money or short-term holders. I know that not all short-term holders are dumb money and not all long-term holders are smart money, but we're seeing the gap, this huge gap, which I've talked about on my channel plenty of times, between long-term holders and smart-term holders. What this typically does is it marks a bear market bottom. So let's take a look. Let's zoom in here and take a look at what year is that? End of 2015. So we had the November 30th peak in 2013. And then we just saw the death, not the death, but the long, year-long plus 2 years. Was it almost 2-year bleed for Bitcoin. And it just rode along the 200-week simple moving average, which is a phenomenal marker of a bear market bottom. And then at this point, 2 years after Bitcoin peaked in 2013, we saw the largest gap between the amount of Bitcoin owned by long-term holders and short-term holders at 7.7 million Bitcoin. And that was the best time to buy in the bear market. Now, the price was lower at this point in 2015, but if you bought at that point and held throughout the year, you wouldn't have seen much in as far as returns are concerned. But if you bought at this point in 2015, that largest gap between short-term holders and long-term holders, that would have been an amazing time. You would have seen immediate returns all the way up from a little over $100 per Bitcoin to $20,000. I mean, that's amazing. What a phenomenal buying opportunity that was. And then, all right, Bitcoin peaked at a little under $20,000 in 2017, December of 2017. December of 2018, Bitcoin bottomed out. And this here was the largest gap between long-term holders and short-term holders, 8.6 million Bitcoin. And that was at the December capitulation event where Bitcoin dumped immediately from $6,000 to $3,000. Another phenomenal buying opportunity. Now, this time, Bitcoin did crab a little bit for 2 or 3 months, but then it rallied up to $14,000. It's a 5x in a span of 6 months from buying at this particular point. And so, again, another phenomenal buying opportunity. And here we are today, with a gap of 9.5 million Bitcoin between the short-term holders and the long-term holders. But the weird thing about this is that, all right, if we're going to follow past history with this kind of a gap, what we're seeing here is that Bitcoin is nowhere near, what is this? I mean, would this be this is typical of bear market bottom price action, not price action, but the gap here. It's typical. It's a signal of a bear market bottom. Now, does that mean that we have reached our bear market bottom? Not necessarily, but here's the thing that I've constantly been mentioning on this channel is that I think the bear market bottom is going to be where the 200-week moving average and the price of Bitcoin meet. And I think that's going to happen sometime in 2023, and that Bitcoin will bottom out not much lower, maybe even not even that as low as $50,000. That 200-week simple moving average is going to rise to $50,000 at some point in 2023, and Bitcoin will bottom out around that level. So however you want to look at this, I mean, maybe you consider this peak, the April 14th peak, as the bull run, and ever since then we've been in a bear market. There is actually an argument to be made that we have been in a bear market since April for Bitcoin, and that this would be the bear market bottom point when Bitcoin is at $47,000. The lowest point. This far be it from me to declare anything, but this could legitimately be the low point for Bitcoin, because we get into the bear market, and the bear market bottom, it goes down to the $50,000 range. It's not going to go down to $47,000 in my opinion. So this is just looking at this one metric. Now, can we go lower? Absolutely. Could we go to the lower 40s? Could we even go to the 30s? We certainly can. But this is absolutely fascinating to me. And if historically, this is a phenomenal time to buy. I would at least be dollar cost averaging right now. Or at least wait until the FOMC meeting is over. Maybe we could nuke to $42,000 or something like that. I don't think so, but it's on the table for sure, especially if they surprise us. Maybe that's the time. But as far as calls for like $20,000 or $30,000 Bitcoin, it just seems very, very unlikely to me. So why would I argue? Oh, I wanted to take a look at this. I mean, I talked about this chart in several different videos, but here's a perfect illustration as to why this is true right now. This gap is huge. It's that short-term holders have capitulated like crazy. This is an extreme deviation from this channel. And so again, a huge gap, 9.5 million Bitcoin gap between long-term holders and short-term holders. That's what's going on right now. And that, again, I mean, if you were to look at this chart, you examine this chart in depth, whenever we've entered this channel, that's been a great buying opportunity. And we've gone far beyond the channel. So anyway, why would I say that the bull run ended in, and how do you even define this? Because we peaked higher than that. But, this chart would seem to indicate, again, that the bull run ended in May, and somehow we have reached a new all-time high in a bear market, which is another extremely bullish thing on a macro scale. But this is number of new entities, 30-day moving average. And so we can see that the number of new entities peaked in March or April. That's actually, early March of 2021. And then we saw this huge decline, and that is typical. I mean, look at the peak here in 2017, and then a huge decline. And then, as we consolidate, I guess, number of new entries, I don't even know how to word that, we spend time in a bear market. And so same deal here, number of new entities spiked up like crazy. We peaked on April 14th, and then we saw this sharp decline, just like 2017, just like in the past, sharp decline back into bear market territory. And yet during this time, while in bear market territory, we reached a new all-time high. So what does that mean for the future? We talked a ton about illiquid supply on this channel. We've talked a ton about it. You guys know, I mean, you're probably sick of me talking about illiquid supply. And fundamentally, if you've been watching my channel, fundamentally something changed on March of 2020, where the supply just became so much more illiquid. And so we saw in May a sharp drop in illiquid supply as the supply became more liquid, but now we're not seeing that. And we're seeing more people, the effects of more people holding on to their Bitcoin, which means that this drop, that what would normally happen if past history was any indication, is that everyone would have just dumped in May and we would have had the 3-year bear market and that would have been it. But because something fundamentally changed in March of 2020, when all that funny money entered the system, you could see on the chart people deciding, no, I am holding on. I don't care. I'm holding on forever with my Bitcoin. And that's the result of it, is that this bear market that we should be in, that we're, price-wise, it's not indicating that we are in a bear market. If you look at anything else, you look at a lot of other things like number of new entities, things should be much worse than they are now. But things have fundamentally changed. And so will we have something like this again? Do I still believe that we will enter the bear market? Yes, I do, because I expect, like 2013, another euphoria phase to come. Does that mean that we're going to have a blow off top for Bitcoin? I mean, I hold that loosely, but over six figures, I am convinced of it, that this cycle we're going to see higher than six-figure Bitcoin. Another reason why this is somebody who I really, I've discovered him recently, but he's pretty well known on Twitter, Light, aka Light Crypto. This is interesting, what he's seeing. So he is a notorious bear. But he has flipped bullish over the last few days. And so I'm trying to figure out what's caused him to flip bullish. I mean, he describes himself as just a truth teller. He likes to tell the truth. He likes to say it as it is. And so look at what he's saying for Ethereum here. I'm just going to read this. I retweeted this on my Twitter account. Follow me on Twitter, by the way, WWBitcoin. But ETH USD spot order books absurdly lopsided in favor of bidders. Multi-exchange overlaid OB favors bid 5-1 in the area of interest. And so here's what he's saying. A lot of people for Ethereum, but this is indicative of the entire market. A lot of people have put in limit orders at certain levels that they're hoping that it fills. They are passive buyers right now, and that's what he talks about. Passive bidders will turn into active in any baseline/positive FOMC scenario, given how many de-risked due to Fed fears or sold because price went down. I talked about this yesterday, but I totally agree with it. And this is a great way to look at it, is that we had active buyers when Jerome Powell came out and said that it's time to put an end to the word transitory. Those active buyers became passive. And what does that mean? That means that they just set bids. They expected the price to go lower, and so they set bids, and the majority of their buying is those bids getting filled and nothing else. And so what happens today if the FOMC meeting is either as expected or even better than expected from, price action standpoint? I'm not going to say better for anything that the Fed does, but from a price action standpoint, let's say that it's as expected or better than expected in the FOMC meeting. As a result of the FOMC meeting today, passive bidders will turn into active bidders. They will stop being passive. And that's kind of what I was saying yesterday when I was saying that the bears are in control right now, at least until the FOMC meeting. But when these passive bidders turn into active bidders, that should have an effect on the price in an upward direction. And so you can see this chart here. You can see a lot of bids at certain levels for Ethereum and very few limit sells. And so what's going to happen? I mean, if the price nukes today, it's going to bounce back very quickly as these bids get filled. And if the price goes higher as a result of what happens at the Fed meeting, there's very little resistance along the way up. Now, resistance will come as people take profits, but as of right now, this leans more in favor towards bullishness over bearishness. And so that is all I have for today. I will go live later today. I've got my eyes on that Fed meeting. The Fed meeting, I usually don't really care all that much, honestly, about the Fed meeting. But today is a different day. This one could have some short-term ramifications, maybe medium-term as well, not really long-term. The Fed will reverse course if they decide to raise rates at any point. They always do. And I say that as somebody who has experience as a mortgage agent whose livelihood depended on what the Fed decided to do. Last thing I want to say, if you have not already check out my crypto bear market buying guide. This is for the bear market. After everything peaks and we have a confirmation that we are in the bear market, this will be a great guide for you. The goal is worldwarbitcoin.teachable.com, by the way. The goal is at least a 20x return on your investment from the bear market bottom to the peak of next cycle. I have 25 videos that I will be hoping to get to 100 videos over the next couple of years, 4 hours worth of content right now. introduction, buying Bitcoin, Ethereum in the bear market, my 4 back the truck up bear market purchases, which they might surprise you: Solana, Quant, Dogecoin, and Shiba Inu. And then I have thoughts on a bunch of other cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies not experiencing their first bear market, cryptocurrencies experiencing their first bear market. And so I hope that this would serve as some sort of a guide for you to see phenomenal returns between now and when Bitcoin peaks sometime, Bitcoin peaks next cycle sometime between 2025 and 2027. But that's all I have for today. I will see you in another video. Hope you have a wonderful day. Smash up that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section. Peace.